Welcome back, students. This is a short note. Question is, write a short note on relations of lateral pterygoid muscle. Now, the answer is that the lateral pterygoid is regarded as the key muscle, of the infratemporal region or infratemporal fossa. Now, why it is said to be a key muscle of the infratemporal region? The main reason is that if you will understand this muscle and its relation, then you will understand the complete infratemporal region, because it has the relation superficial and deep, above and below, and that tells lot about the infratemporal region. So this is an important and usually asked as a short note. Now, if you will see this diagram, again I will review it. This is the head of the mandible, the neck of the mandible, the fovea is here, where the tendon of the lateral pterygoid muscle, that is the upper head and the lower head, they are getting attached. I have not shown the detail in capsule and intracapsular disc. But this is an attachment onto the mandible. This is the maxilla, the maxillary molar teeth are shown here. This is the pterygomaxillary fissure, and that's why this is the lateral pterygoid plate. So this is the site of origin, from that of the infratemporal crest and the undersurface of the greater wings of the sphenoid, from where the upper head is taking origin, and this is the lower head from the lateral surface of the lateral pterygoid plate is taking origin, and inserting in front of the neck and capsule and the articular disc here. Now, there is a gap between the upper and the lower head here, and then we have to see the relations of this. Let us see the superficial relation first of the lateral pterygoid muscle. If you see the superficially, the lateral pterygoid is under the cover of the masseter and the ramus of mandible. Here will be the coronoid process, and here then will come the ramus of the mandible, and on the ramus is the attachment of masseter, which we have also already seen. So the masseter muscle and the ramus of the mandible, they are superficial relation of the lateral pterygoid muscle. Then there is a tendon of the temporalis, and the tendon of the temporalis, it comes from above to attach onto the coronoid process of the mandible, temporalis. So this part of the lateral pterygoid is also deep to the temporalis tendon. Then there is a maxillary artery, which is also in superficial relation, and this is the second part of the maxillary artery, which lies on the surface of the lateral pterygoid, the lower head of the lateral pterygoid. So these are the many superficial relation of the lateral pterygoid muscle. Now, with the help of this diagram, again from the theme a dissector, I am the author of this third volume, and I will show you what lies superficial to that of the lateral pterygoid muscle. Now you can see in this diagram here, this is the upper head, this is the lower head of the lateral pterygoid, and this is the gap between the two heads, and you can see here that this is the ramus of mandible is cut here, and on the surface of the ramus will be the masseter and ramus, they will form superficial. From above, this temporalis is coming, which will attach to the coronoid process, coronoid process, and then you can also see in the second lower head, this is the maxillary artery, the second part, it is in relation to it. So these are some of the relation, and this is the buccal nerve, which will also form the superficial relation. So these are the superficial relation of the lateral pterygoid muscle. Let us go to see the deep relation. The deep relation of this muscle is, that means the middle meningeal artery. You can see here, this is the middle meningeal artery, which is taking origin from the first part of the maxillary artery, and this artery middle meningeal will run deep to that of the lateral pterygoid. So it lies deep, okay, and then just deep to this middle meningeal artery, though I have not shown in this diagram, is the sphenomandibular ligament. So meningeal artery and the sphenomandibular ligament, they are the deep relation close to the neck of the mandible. Then there comes the main trunk of the mandibular nerve, which will lie deep to it. Main trunk of, as soon as it will come out from foramina ovale the mandibular trunk, it will lie deep to this lateral pterygoid muscle. Okay, then it will divide into anterior and posterior division, the mandibular nerve, and then from the posterior division will come out the lingual and inferior alveolar nerve. Here this was middle meningeal, okay, just write in a very short form. This is that of the maxillary artery here. Maxillary artery, which is the terminal branch of the superficial temporal, and this is the maxillary, and this is the external carotid artery posterior to the neck of the mandible, dividing into two terminal branches. And then right up to the lower margin of the lateral pterygoid, this is first part of the maxillary artery, from where this middle meningeal artery is taking origin. What I was saying, that the mandibular nerve will divide into anterior and posterior division, the trunk, and then from posterior division these two nerve will take origin, and this is the lingual nerve. This is the lingual, and this is the inferior alveolar nerve. Inferior alveolar nerve. Okay, so they are the branches from the mandibular nerve, and then still deeper to it. Okay. There will lie the medial pterygoid muscle, medial. So these are the deep relations of the lateral pterygoid muscle. Let us see from this diagram. You can see that here the upper and the lower head of the lateral pterygoid muscle is gone. That means lateral pterygoid is completely gone, so that we can see the deeper relation of the lateral pterygoid. You can see that this is the deep head of the medial pterygoid, which is quite bulky and takes origin from the medial surface of the lateral pterygoid plate, and this is the superficial head of the medial pterygoid, which takes origin from the maxillary tuberosity. Now the deep to it, these two heads of the medial pterygoid are important. Then we learn that the trunk of the mandibular nerve will be there. Then this is the anterior division. Then this is the posterior division, which will divide into the lingual and that of the inferior alveolar nerve. Okay, so the lingual and the inferior alveolar nerve will be there. Okay, which will lie deep to it. Okay, which will lie. So these are the major deep relation of the lateral pterygoid muscle. Let us come to the structures which are emerging from the upper border of the lateral pterygoid. And these structures which are emerging from the upper border, this is the masseteric nerve. Okay, the nerve to the masseter. Okay, I will call it as nerve to the masseter or the masseteric nerve. Let me write it here, the nerve to the masseter. So this is the vessel as well as the nerve to masseter, which will go towards the masseteric notch. Okay, I mean say this notch of the ramus of the mandible. Okay, onto this. And then after this blood vessels and nerve to masseter, then these are the deep temporal vessels. Okay, and along with is the deep temporal nerve, which will come from the deeper aspect, deep temporal nerve. Okay, at least two branches will go to supply the temporalis muscle. Okay, will lie on through the temporal floor. Okay, then here what we see, that is the emerging from upper border, we have seen the nerve to masseter and the deep temporal nerve along with the vessels, and then structures in relation to its lower border. If we see the structures in relation to the lower border, we will see that this meningeal artery we have already seen, then the lingual and the inferior alveolar, now they are coming out from deep to its lower border. Okay, and if we see the structures which lie between the upper and the lower head in this gap, okay, then we will see that this is the third part of the maxillary artery, okay, which lies here, and then this is that buccal nerve which will go to the cheek and the, I mean to say, under surface of the cheek. Okay, so this is that buccal nerve which is going to supply to the sensory supply to the mucous membrane of the cheek and the gum. So these are the relations of the lateral pterygoid. It is important because it is a key muscle which shows the different relations superficially and deep, and then the structures coming from its upper border, lower border, okay, and lying between the two heads of the lateral pterygoid. Thank you very much for watching this short video.